If you're learning to crochet and you're feeling drawn to making things with your hands, you are in exactly the right place. My name is Fiona and I have taught hundreds of people how to crochet, both in-person crochet workshops and right here on this channel. Crochet doesn't need to be rushed or overcomplicated. In fact, with this video, I'm going to be slowing things right down as I take you through the next step in your crochet journey, and we're going to be learning the US double crochet, which is also known as a UK treble crochet. So grab your yarn and your hook and let's dive in. So in this video we are learning the US double crochet, the same as a UK treble crochet. We're going to place the tail into our palm, ready to make our slip knot. I've wound the yarn over my finger, going to bring that back loop from the front over that loop, and then the new back loop comes over and off. We're going to place that loop onto our crochet hook and just tighten that up so it's the size of our hook. To make our beginning chain, we're just going to secure our yarn. I'm going to place my finger onto that loop and bring the yarn from the back over the front. I'm going to pinch the slip knot so that I can have a bit of control over that loop, and then bring the hook through the loop on our hook to make our first chain. We're going to make a chain of 13 in total, so that's number 1. I'm going to just pop my finger back onto the loop on my hook again, bring the yarn up and over the top, and use the hook to bring the loop through for the second. Bring it up and over the hook towards you and bring that loop through. And once again, yarn over the hook towards you and bring it through. So we're going to continue until we have a chain of 13. So when you think that you've made enough chains, I've just given mine a gentle tug so that those V's become a bit more apparent. So we have our plait on one side and our V's on the other, and then we are going to count our V's, so just one side of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and that's number 13. I can barely get them all on the screen. If you have too many chains, you can just bring the loop up and then gently pull back to remove any excess chains, and then you're going to reinsert your hook with the working yarn kind of coming out of the back. So you've got the V's facing and you're just going to pop your hook back through. If, like me now, you don't have enough chains, count how many you have and continue to add until you have 13 in total. I think I pulled 3, just bear with. I do. I now have 13, the same as you should have. The reason that I'm asking you to check how many chains you have is because it's going to allow us to count our stitches at the end. It doesn't really matter how many you have, but it just means that we know that we've not lost any along the way. So we're going to be working into our chains. Now, a US double crochet and a UK treble crochet is a taller stitch than the US single. So we're going to be skipping a few more chains before we insert our hook. So this loop on our hook never counts as a stitch, and we're not going to work into the first one or the second one. We're actually going to go into the third one. So the direction that we're going to work is from our hook back down towards our slip knot. So the V's are now on their side. So we have 1, 2, and 3. And we're just going to be inserting our hook underneath that third top loop. So there's our first one, there's the second, and there's the third. I'll cover everything else up. So you've got 1, 2, this is the third one, there's a little hole there, and that's where I'm going to be inserting my hook because this loop doesn't count. Now, before we insert our hook, we're going to be actually yarning over so it looks like we have an extra loop on our hook. So this is the loop that is attached to our working yarn, and we're just bringing the yarn over the top of the hook before we insert it. So then we're going to recount our chains. So we have 1, 2, and I'm going to go in between and underneath that top loop of our next chain. So 1, 2, and this is number 3, and we're going to go in through the middle and insert. So now it looks like we have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and just bring it back through our chain and that first loop. So that first loop was our chain, and you should still have 3 loops on your hook. It's going to look messy, don't worry, it's just the way it is. We're then going to yarn over, and this time we're just going to pull through these first two loops on our hook. So we're just going to bring it through the first 2 loops, and we should still have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over again, and now we're going to pull through the remaining 2 loops on our hook. And there is our first stitch. So that is the US double crochet, the same as a UK treble crochet. Now these chains that we've skipped are not going to count as a stitch, and that underneath our hook right now is your first stitch. You've got a V you've just created, and these 2 underneath don't count. I'll explain more as we move through. For now, you can see that we've made a bit of a bigger hole where we just worked, and it should hopefully make your next chain a little bit more visible. So you've got your next V underneath there. If I cover up that one, so you've got a V, and that's the loop we're going to go underneath. Before we insert our hook, we need to yarn over. Ignore that big hole because there is something in there already, and we're instead going to go underneath the top loop of our next chain. So there's something there. We're going underneath that top loop. We're going to yarn over and bring that loop back through the chain. I'm just neating it all up so you can see everything, and we should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and just pull through those first 2 loops on the hook. We should be left with 2 loops. We're going to yarn over once again. I'm going to reposition where I'm pulling so I can pull on the stitch to create a little bit of room to bring that hook through. If you've already tried making a US single crochet, you'll find that this is a lot taller and a lot baggier, and it's known for that. It's literally double the height of a US single crochet. You can see that we have a stitch coming out of this hole here, and we're going to move on to the next chain where we're going to be inserting to work the next stitch. We're going to yarn over the hook. We've worked here, so this is the next one, not that one. It's quite far away from where we are, so we're ignoring that one, going underneath that top loop. We're inserting, yarning over the hook, bring the loop up. You should have your 3 loops on your hook. We are yarning over again, just pulling through those first 2 loops. You should have 2 loops remaining once you've pulled that through. Yarn over and pull through those 2 loops again. So we now have 3 stitches all made, and it should be looking a little bit like that. If you're getting a bit curly-whirly and all kerfuddled, don't worry too much. We're just going to get used to the feeling of moving these stitches and making them a bit taller by yarning over first. So once again, you can see there's something coming out of that hole. Don't be afraid to pull it about a bit and see where you are. And then we're going to work underneath that next top loop. So we're yarning over the hook before we insert, and we're going into this hole here. We've worked here. We're going into that next one from the front out the back. We're yarning over, bringing our 3rd loop up. We're going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops. We've got 2 loops remaining, so we yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. Should we do another one? So working under this next chain here. So we're yarning over, looking and working out where we're going. This one's been worked into because we have that. So we're going underneath the next loop. We yarn over, bring our loop up, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. I went fast mode there, sorry. We'll do that again. We're yarning over the hook. You can see that there's something in that chain there, so we're going into the next one. Once we've yarned over, we're going to insert from the front out the back. We're yarning over and bringing that loop back through the chain. we should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops before we yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. We are then going to repeat that all the way down back to where our slip knot is. Whilst you continue on, I'm going to talk about some of the potential challenges you may face with this stitch as you are doing it. So once you've yarned over, it's very tempting to go back into that bigger hole that we've made. And it's worth noting that there is something coming out of that. If you're finding that you're making lots of stitches and think, oh, it shouldn't take this long, just make sure you're not working into the same hole again. Reposition it, have a look to see where you are. Another challenge is when you're inserting and bringing your loop up, if you yarn over and you're tilting your hook too far back or too far forward, obviously straight down is perfection, but sometimes we're rushing and we get caught. So I'm going to purposefully catch a loop as I come through, and it looks like that. That is not what we want, because when it's all really bunched up and really tight and it doesn't feel right. If you're doing it and it just doesn't feel right, just pause, and we're basically going to take it off of our hook and start that stitch again. There's no fixing this. This is not right. So I'm just literally going to put my finger on the loop on my hook and take everything else off. And then I can gently pull on my working yarn. I'm going to just readjust my chain by giving it a gentle tug so that I can see my V's again and restart that stitch. So I've yarned over, I've already worked into that one, there's something coming out. So this is the next one. We're going to yarn over, bring that loop up, and then before I yarn over and pull through, I'm just going to make sure where my hook is going. It's got to come through both those loops. So I'm going to make sure that it's not tilted too far back or too far forward, just so it glides through, and then that bit's done. The same challenge can happen at this point. So if you tilt too far back, you see how it's going to catch that extra loop. So I'll replicate it again, and it's all just, oh, if it's wrong, just take it off. If it doesn't feel right, take it off and try again. There's no rush here. We are only learning, and learning takes time. So we pull through 2. Yeah, got that one. Yarn over and pull through 2. Oh, we did it. So I'm going to show you what it looks like if you skip a stitch. So I know I should be going into this one, but let's say I misplaced my hook and I went into the stitch ahead of where I should have been. You can see that there's a bit of a bigger gap between them. It's much more noticeable with these taller stitches. So if that's the case, take your hook out, and as you gently pull on your working yarn, your live loop, as in the one that's attached to your project, will pop up and show itself. You see how that popped up? Before you do anything else, put your hook back into it, or else it will start to come undone. I'm going to tug on the yarn on my chain just to make it look a bit more even, and then I can make sure exactly where I'm working. So I've worked here. This is the next chain to work into. So I've yarned over, insert, yarn over, bring that loop up, yarn over to pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over to pull through the remaining 2 loops. You may well not face any of these challenges, and I hope that you are just an absolute natural at crochet, but it's quite rare and mistakes happen. So I hope they will help you if you find that you've made a mistake. We're not looking for perfection, remember, we're just having fun. So I'm just working my final stitch here. My slip knot started to come undone for some reason. And there we are. We should be looking a little bit like that. If you're not, don't worry. We can try again, and it will come with practice. It shouldn't be too stiff. It shouldn't be too tight, but even tension and stitches that all look alike, as mine does, because I'm just a superstar, it will come with practice. So please don't worry if one's higher than the other or one's taller than the other, or if it's all loosey-goosey or super tight and crunchy. Looser tension will come with practice. So once you have reached the end of your row, I would always encourage you to count your V's. You can see that they are still visible on the top. So making sure that your tail is hanging at the bottom, tilt the project towards you, and I just rotate it to show you the V's a little bit easier. You can see them there as well. So we skipped the first 2 chains, so they don't count. This V here is your first stitch. It's right on the top of your project, and it is exactly where you need it to be. So we should have, I'm going to count mine because I can't remember. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, got caught. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11 stitches. Now we started with 13 chains and we skipped those first 2 chains. So 13 minus 2 is 11 stitches. If you don't have 11 stitches right now, don't panic too much. Just make a note of how many stitches you do have so that we can make sure that at the end of this row, you still have the same stitch count. We're going to go on and work into our stitches now because we've worked into our beginning chain, and now we're going to start making our project taller by working additional rows. To do that, we are going to start by making something called a turning chain. Now this is a beginner friendly project, and for a US double crochet, as a beginner, I would always make a turning chain of 2 that does not count as a stitch. As you get more advanced, you're going to learn about standing stitches and all other kind of things. But for now, we're just going to do something called a turning chain, which is going to bring our hook up to the height of our next row. Just like we did for our chains at the beginning, we're just going to yarn over the hook and bring our loop through the hook. So that was 1, and we're going to be doing a turning chain of 2. So we just need to simply repeat that again and make a second chain. And that's going to bring our hook up to the height of our next row. So I'm going to turn my work like a page in a book. So if you imagine it's just literally turning a page. And then we are ready to continue on. I will point out that your tail is like those that live on animals and should be on the bottom at all times unless otherwise specified. So because this turning chain of 2 does not count, depending on how you hold your project, you'll see that this is the edge of your project, and we are looking for the first stitch at the edge of our project. So there was the chain 1, and there's the chain 2, and this right at the bottom of it is going to be our first stitch, which is the first stitch at the edge of our project. If I turn it, it looks like we have 3 V's. That's a chain, that's a chain, and this is your first stitch right at the edge. If I gently pull, you'll see a hole underneath, and this is a post of a stitch. Your stitch is actually where your V is. So if I isolate that for a moment, you can see you've got a V on its side, pointing in the direction that we are going, because we're heading that way now. And you've got a hole directly underneath it, and that's where we're going to be inserting our hook. So we're at the edge of our project, and there is our first stitch. We've got a V on the top, and a hole on the side, and a hole underneath that we ignore. So remember, we're doing a US double crochet, the same as a UK treble. So we start by yarning over the hook, and we know that we're going to insert underneath that V of our first stitch at the edge from the front out the back. We're going to make sure that we have both loops on our hook. I'm just going to point out that it is messy. It's not you. It's just the way it is at this point. And your yarn may well be where you need it to be, which can be its own confusion. So let it all drop and just bring the yarn over the top of the hook to get it caught on your hook, and then bring it back through the stitch. So we have those familiar 3 loops on our hook. We're then going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops just as we did before. And we're going to repeat that again by yarning over to pull through the remaining 2 loops. Oh, and there we have that first stitch of this row done. Your next stitch is going to be your next V, and again there's a little hole underneath it. I'm going to ignore that hole there, this hole. So we're going to yarn over. It's quite far away from where you've just worked. We're going to insert underneath the V, making sure we've got both loops of that stitch. We're yarning over, bring that loop of yarn back through your stitch. I'm just straightening mine out so we can see everything. We can yarn over again and pull through the first 2 loops before we yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. We're just going to repeat this US double crochet all the way down. Find your next stitch, and insert. Always remember to yarn over before you insert. Another challenge that people face, especially when we're learning, is if once we've yarned over, if that yarn is not held back from where you're inserting, if it's kept at the front of your project and you insert, when you yarn over, it's all twisted and it's all complicated, you don't have enough loops on your hook. So if you've found that you've brought your loop up and you only have 2, what's happened is when you've yarned over, you haven't kept the yarn at the back of your project before you inserted, and it's just fallen off the hook effectively. So make sure that you keep your yarn to the back when you're inserting so that you can still see it on your hook when you've pushed through. We yarn over, bring that loop up. We're going to yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the next 2. We're just going to continue to repeat working a US double crochet, which is the same as a UK treble, into each stitch, back across this row, working into each stitch. And as you can see, the more confident you get, the quicker you can crochet as well. Speed isn't the game though, to be honest. We're not aiming for that. We're just getting used to practicing this stitch and working it so it becomes a bit more natural. So we're yarning over, insert underneath the V, bring your loop up, pull through 2, pull through 2. See, even I split my yarn. We're all human, no one's perfect. And it's a lovely tall stitch, so it does feel like you're making a lot of crochet fabric without using as much yarn, and you get a longer project quicker because these stitches are taller. Now I've reached back to the end of my row, and those 2 chains that we skipped are going to be visible, and they're going to make you think you've got more stitches to work, but I promise you haven't. So when you get towards the end, it will look a little bit lumpy. Work into that last V, working your US double crochet, and you should have a little lump at the side, and they will look like V's and it might confuse you, but they were the 2 chains that we skipped. If you need to, you can count your beginning stitches. So remember, we made that chain of 2, that doesn't count. So if you isolate your stitches, so you've got those 2 chains, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stitches again. So then you know you shouldn't be working into those 2. They're actually a little bit lower than our stitches as well, so your stitches would be too short and it would start to twist your fabric. I'm going to show you how to start your row again so you can continue on and practice this fabulous stitch. We start with a turning chain of 2, so we're just making a chain of 2. We're yarning over and pulling through, yarning over and pulling through, so you have 2 chains. We turn like a page in the book and make sure that our tail is living on the bottom. I'm going to yarn over ready for my first stitch, and I'm going to locate it by finding the edge of my project. There's my chain 1, chain 2. There's my first stitch at the edge of my project. So I'm inserting, making sure I've got both loops of that V. We're yarning over, bringing up that 3rd loop. We yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops. We yarn over again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. And that's it. We're just going to continue repeating that all the way across. You can see that there's something coming out of this stitch, so that becomes the next one to work. You can follow it down from your hook if you want as well. Lots of different things you can look at. And that's it. That is how you do a US double crochet, the same as a UK treble crochet. This is all you need to focus on for now. There's no need to rush or get it perfect. Just give yourself a little time to practice and let it begin to feel familiar in your hands. When you're ready to take the next step, I have linked the next video in this beginner series below, where we're going to gently build on what you've already learned today. Crochet really is something you can grow into stitch by stitch, and I'll be right here to guide you along the way.